it's snowing, but it's sunny out. And if that is not the mood of these current energies, I don't know what is. Hi, welcome to Water Within Astrology. My name is Carly, and I'm here with a special episode because I was unable to make a video for our Taurus full moon that we had on the 5th of November, and I felt really like I needed to make a video for my own personal journey with astrology because I've tracked every single moon this year, and this is the first year that I've done so. And so this video is to cover the Taurus full moon, but mostly to cover what I consider to be more important aspects that are going on now, just a few days after that full moon. So let's get into it. Surprise, this is also my birthday episode, and I am coming to you the morning after my birthday, and so it's Monday, November the 10th today. My birthday was yesterday, the 9th. So it was a beautiful weekend of reconnecting with the things that I love most about being in my hometown and about coming back from my trip. That is the reason I missed the Taurus full moon, and just getting back into my routine, but seeing it with new eyes, and all of that is reflected in the astrology. So let's get into it. So I pulled up a chart for my birthday, and that's what I'm going to be going off of because a lot of the big transits that I'm talking about are happening right around my birthday. One of the biggest ones on my birthday, and that is Mercury retrograde. And Mercury will be in retrograde until the 19th of November. And so yesterday on the 9th, that's 10 whole days. That's not terrible, right? We can do this. But this Mercury retrograde is getting a lot of hype and getting a lot of attention because last year we had a Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, and this one is starting in Sagittarius and it's moving back into Scorpio. And everyone knows that Scorpio isn't here to chill. There's no chill, and so things could be really coming up, intense things, intense feelings, intense reactions, needing to kind of like open up the floodgates, so to speak, especially because we still have a water trine. And the trine involves all three water signs, and if you want to get technical, it only is a little bit off of where the Scorpio placements are. The Scorpio placements are, of course, the sun at 17 degrees, and we also have Black Moon Lilith at 25 degrees. We now have Venus in Scorpio. That's going to be a big one I'll talk about in a minute. But those are the only three Scorpio placements that we have right now. And the trine is actually closer to Black Moon Lilith than it is to the sun. So some people would not consider that a trine, but I do, because Black Moon Lilith is a G, and she especially is loud and speaking clearly in Scorpio. So 25 degrees of Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio. The Jupiter is at 25 degrees of Cancer, and then we have Saturn at 25 degrees conjunct Neptune at 29 degrees, a little bit farther off, but so we're really looking at the three here. Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio, Jupiter in Cancer, Saturn in Pisces. Those are the three trining, and we've been having this trine pretty much all of November because Saturn and Jupiter are relatively slow-moving planets, and so is Lilith. And so imagine that triangle of water connecting all three water signs, bringing us more in touch with our emotions, and maybe having, like I said, the floodgates being opened up, and maybe it's feeling like too much. Maybe it's drowning us emotionally and physically. Maybe it's You know, like we're escaping, because that Pisces aspect in Saturn is like escape reality. And we're coming back to the reality check with Saturn as well. And there is an opposition now in the mix. So we've been on this raft. I like to imagine it as a raft. This three connections of the water signs, and that's been like crazy waves. Sometimes it's chill, but most of the time it's like a lot, because Jupiter brings a lot to whatever it touches. Jupiter in Cancer is a lot of sensitivity, a lot of emotions, a lot of reactivity, a lot of passive aggressiveness. The crab of Cancer is like sidestepping, like we're like not gonna talk about it, but we're like gonna mention it briefly, and like, yeah, baby stuff. And I can say that because I'm a Cancer rising. I know the games. And so that opposition that I mentioned that's coming in, that's going to be changing the game, is Uranus moving back into Taurus. And that just happened a couple days ago. Uranus opposite Black Moon Lilith is thinking of that opposition as like the steering wheel of the raft. And Uranus doesn't have a map. Uranus is like, we're going this way now. Like, psych, like it's it's doing what it needs to do to help us to avoid traps where we're losing our authenticity, where we're losing our sense of freedom, where we're losing, we're becoming apathetic when it comes to things that we should be rebelling against, so on and so forth. Uranus doesn't chill either. And Uranus is notorious for expecting the unexpected. So there's no way to really know what's going to be happening in our lives right now. If you want to look at where Taurus is in your chart, which house that rules, or really it would be affecting any of the fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. So paying attention to those places. Uranus is retrograding back into Taurus, and it will be back in Gemini soon, but it is bringing up, as it moves back into Taurus, what have we learned about Uranus and Taurus since 2018? And I made a little TikTok about this, but I wanted to make a formal video talking about what my journey with Uranus and Taurus has looked like. And 2018 was an incredible year for me, and it was not only the year that I went vegan, but it is also the year that I went to India and left the country for the first time. And I was 24 years old, and I have never left the USA and never even been out west or anything like that. So for me to go to India for my yoga teacher training for the first time I was ever out of the country, I think was a pretty huge Uranus-like freedom thing, right? Because it shattered my reality and it completely rewrote my perspective on the way I view the earth, and that's the Taurus, right? How we relate to the earth itself, and how we specifically relate to the surface of the earth. So food that grows on the surface or below the surface, and animals that walk upon the earth. And I'd never seen any of that stuff that you hear about in India. Like, I've never seen those dogs everywhere. I never saw those cows just on the street, like ribs showing, and monkeys everywhere, like stealing people's food and making it so that they can't make money because, obviously it's the monkeys' food too. Yeah, and they figured out like a smarter way to, like, they don't have to do the work now. Let's just let the humans do the work. Like of climbing the trees and getting it. I'm sure they still do. Anyways, that's a whole different thing. And yeah, just seeing the animals everywhere in India, animals I've never seen before in real life, except for in a zoo, and just really coming to terms with the fact that first of all, India is a place where a lot of the cities, most of them, in fact, it's illegal to eat meat. It's by law vegetarian only places. And yeah, no alcohol is allowed as well. And not that I'm saying that these are like better options for us, you know. I think in an ideal world we would all not eat meat and not drink alcohol, like, and what I see that is not harming yourself with these things that are harmful. But anyways, it's not about the law. It was just going to a place where this was the norm and this was how it was. Not to say that people didn't break the laws. And actually, the city that I was in specifically, there was meat available. So, but at my teacher training, we did not eat meat. And I actually was paired with another girl from America, the States rather, and she was a vegan. And I had already been hearing a lot of different stuff from some friends that posted some stuff about, like, you know, you're not an animal lover if you still eat meat, and, like, you know, the basic stuff that is, like, super triggering for people. And it's also, like, kind of like you just kind of are like, well, I mean, I can see, like, yeah, how that logically makes sense. And you're just not quite there yet. You're kind of living in a state of hypocrisy of, like, yeah, he's probably right, but I love cheese, and, like, I love, you know, like, I ate so much cheese. Cheese was my whole diet. And yeah, so what I'm trying to say is that once I was exposed enough to the culture that it was normalized to not eat meat, and I was influenced by someone, a real life person who was near me all the time for 30 days straight, you know, doing the thing, like, in a foreign country, being vegan, and all of a sudden it was just like, oh, this is actually possible for me to do too. And it gave me that permission to, you know, take that leap of faith. And as soon as I got home, unfortunately, I didn't make the decision till I got home, but I got home and I was done. I was so done. And I lived in a place, this is a whole story, but I promise you it's going to come back around and all tied together. I lived in a place where I knew I shouldn't be living. I lived in a roommate situation where I was staying at a place that a lot of people liked to party a lot, and let's just say what I'm about to tell you can kind of sum up their entire personality. I'm trying to be nice, you guys. I promise. I'm a nice person. I promise. But these people were scary. And the moment that I realized that I couldn't drink milk anymore and couldn't eat cheese anymore was realizing that I would open the refrigerator door in the place that I was living, and I saw, like, 4 different gallons of milk, but they were, like, half drank or, like, a fourth drank or, like, 3/4 drank, and it was just, like, all these different jugs that weren't, anyways, it was, you know, I know that's not normal, but, like, maybe it is. And I, just in the way that was put in front of my eyes, really was just like, wow. And I remember one night I was in my room and I could hear the guys in the living room talking to each other, and then they began to literally argue with each other about who drank more milk. And in that moment too, I was like, this is such baby man shit. Like, this is such a moment of them trying to compete with each other who's the bigger baby. Because obviously milk, cow's milk is a mother's milk that is only produced when she is pregnant or had just given birth. And what milk does is it stimulates a relationship with your mother, because there's a chemical in all milk, raw milk, pasteurized, farm grass-fed, whatever and factory farm milk. All of it has this chemical because it is serving a purpose when it comes to a mother cow and her calf. This is called casomorphin, and this is creating a chemical reaction in the human brain of simulating your bond with your mother. And so Uranus and Taurus is connected with our self-worth. Jupiter in Cancer is working through our mommy issues and our relationship to our family and growing the fuck up, actually. Like, getting out of the baby mode of Cancer and moving into the mother mode of Cancer. And, like, regardless of what gender you are, the mother archetype can be embodied by anyone and should be practiced, and those qualities should be in all of us, right? Like, we all want to be safe for people. Like, we all want to be, and I'm saying we all, but who knows, maybe not everybody feels this way. But generally, I think a lot of people want to be around people that feel safe and feel, warm and, like, a mother's hug. Like, if you, have relationships that make you feel like your dad, who didn't accept you and always judged you and told you you were never good enough and never told you I love you, that's playing out the toxic relationship that you had with your father. If you're around people like that, and then if you're around people like make you feel safe, and that's reflected in our self-worth. And I'm not blaming everybody. We're all going through this collective awakening of realizing, like, the trauma that we had with our family is reflected in our relationships, and we're learning our attachment styles, and it's so popular now, and it's so beautiful, like, so much shadow work and responsibility is being taken, but also not victim blaming. And that's, I think, what the Virgo South Node is doing for us this year, is, like, maybe we've been doing this work on ourselves, and maybe we've, been through the, like, psyche turmoil about it all, and now we're realizing, like, how much of that victim mentality we have adopted as our identity, because we're realizing, like, everything we've been through. And now it's time to come face to face with that victim mentality and to become the victor instead of the victim. And so that Virgo V energy, anyways, so, and I could go on and on about that too, but we're going to just come back to the water trine, and we're going to look at the Uranus and Taurus opposite Black Moon Lilith. I wrote down that this aspect is walking the fuck out of the garden. Knowing that my self-worth is worth so much more, and my peace and my sense of abundance, right? Like, anything that's pulling us into lack and pulling us into scarcity and making us, like, forget about how much we have to be grateful for, that shit is not gonna last too long with Uranus around. Uranus is gonna free us from all of that stuff, and it's gonna be because we find a new sense of self-worth and we have the courage. Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio, she is fucking fierce, and she doesn't take no shit. And she is going to walk the fuck out of the garden when time comes. So, not to be dramatic, but that is exactly what she does. If you know about the story of Lilith, she was Adam's first wife, and she was not going to be subservient to him. So she got kicked out of the garden. No, she walked out. She said, I'm not doing this. I didn't sign up for this. Bye. And so, anyways, that's the quick little version of her. And then we, of course, have these two flanking positions of Pisces in Saturn, dissolving old realities, dissolving old patterns, dissolving karmic ties, like, dissolving and softening so that we can forgive the heavy stuff, the, like, burdensome stuff, the stuff that keeps us in melancholy, the stuff that just, like, makes us never want to leave our bed, and just Pisces is coming in with that compassion and unconditional love. And all we have to do is check our escapism levels when it comes to Saturn and Pisces, because that could mean our discipline is out the window. Our discipline is dissolved. It's too soft. Our boundaries are too soft, like, you know, and maybe we are too empathetic and we're too open to forgiving people that maybe we should have some more grit around. So there is a conflict there. And then we have, of course, like I said, Jupiter in Cancer. So good. Like, the placement is so happy there. Jupiter is just exuberant in Cancer and wants everybody to be safe and everyone to be taken care of and everyone to be fed and everyone to have their, you know, sense of connection, sense of family, sense of belonging. And it's so much emotion, and it's like coming to terms with where we haven't had that. And like, Jupiter is the father, so like maybe like coming to terms with our relationships to our father or anyone that we, you know, saw as a father figure or saw as a wise teacher or saw as someone like a mentor, you know, it could be anything like that. Maybe realizing like that our family is more of our chosen family rather than our blood family, and that can be difficult because our society puts so much emphasis on blood. So we're riding this raft. All of a sudden Uranus appears after almost a month of this trine, and now it's changing directions. The winds of change are here at last, like, and that brings me back to the snow. Today is the first day of snow here in Kentucky. It actually was snowing last night on my birthday, and I'm like, okay, what does this mean for my year ahead? And the sun was out for just a minute there, and I'm like, I guess I've seen snow when the sun was out. Is there like a snow bow? Like a rainbow, but with snow? Anyways, everything's a little wonky out there, and we are having to roll with the punches, and we are having to hold sturdy, right? Uranus and Taurus is like giving that stability to the most unstable planet, or it's making the stability of Taurus all rocky. It could be either way for us. So yeah, finding your tools to connect with your body, to connect with your senses, to try to remind yourself that you are safe, even if things are crazy right now, which they are for everyone in their own way. And, you know, Uranus and Taurus just happened, and we just had these SNAP benefits go off, right? Like, right around Thanksgiving. And, you know, obviously Thanksgiving is a whole nother discussion. I am not someone who subscribes to Thanksgiving. I try to be thankful every single day, but, you know, the Christopher Columbus vibe is not it for me. And I know that there's a transition happening with this holiday, so I'm kind of trying to just be patient with culture and around the awakening that's occurring, because it is occurring at a rapid pace. It just doesn't seem like it to us tiny babies on Earth. Anyways, right around Thanksgiving, everybody comes together, families come together, and maybe that's the only time of year that people have to reconnect, to really, like, you know, maybe your family's out of town and you only make that trip once a year. Maybe it's just something about this time of year that brings us closer together, because it's cold now and dark, and everybody's coming together to look for to each other for comfort, and to each other for warmth and for that feeling. And I think it's crazy because Taurus is absolutely related to food systems. It's absolutely related to money as well, and kind of like, um, it's abundance. It's the first sign, the first Earth sign. It's that point of the summer that's just like so abundant and green, and you can just rest in that, knowing that there is enough for everyone because the earth is blossoming. And now it's the opposite, where everything's starting to die. Everything's been dying, and yeah, that abundance should still exist because we live in this modern world and we have the resources, but now we've got these systems that are broken in place, or they're not broken, and our so-called president is trying to teach us a lesson and show us, like, what happens when the government is shut down for this long? What happens when I take away your food stamps? Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to revolt still? Are you going to still do what you've been doing? Because people just had these huge protests a couple weeks ago, the No Kings protest, and that was, I'm sure, not fun for him to see his citizens rise up together and against him. And maybe this is his tantrum, his baby man tantrum, to try to put us in our place. Anyways, this is just me off the riff now, but Uranus and Taurus is very much related to the snap stuff, and it's very much related to revolution, and it's very much, yeah. Taurus can be that, stubborn fucking asshole that just won't let up, even though he knows he's wrong. He is more interested in being the one who doesn't back down rather than being, I like correcting themselves and then being therefore right. So they think they're right, and maybe you're experiencing something or some kind of person like that in your life, and Scorpio just is not afraid to walk away. It's not afraid to walk away. And to me, I feel like with the Sagittarius coming in, right, we have Mercury and Mars in Sagittarius. Mercury, like I said, going retrograde, is retrograde. That Sag is just like, nah, let's just leave. Let's just get out of here and go somewhere else. Like, there are other options. This is not the only place in the world. Let's go. Let's go explore and see what's out there. And let's take a risk. And let's do the thing that we've always wanted to do, that lights up our soul and lights our fire and makes us excited. Sagittarius is super, super related to the feeling of excitement. And in my opinion, that's not just my opinion, but it's one of the highest vibrating emotions. And so what excites us, and what is, if traveling is something that's happening right now, it's so crazy because it's like, Sagittarius, let's go travel. But Mercury retrograde is like, not right now. And so maybe there's some replanning, like reforming of plans. Maybe there's some delays. Maybe there is some reason that you don't need to be going right now. I know the government shutdown is also affecting that. So I think if you made plans before this Mercury retrograde and they've been in place and they've been solid, and it's like it's happening, you are probably still fine. Things that you just now are planning are probably the ones that are going to experience more of a setback. So, yeah, Mercury retrograde and Mars right on the same point. Sorry, they're 3 degrees off. 6 degrees Mercury, 3 degrees Mars, both in Sagittarius. Mars conjunct Mercury for Mercury retrograde could mean that there's fights, could mean that there is a conflict that changes things, that changes the plans. It could mean that there is some kind of aggression, and it could just mean that you are tired of this, Grandpa, and I'm just gonna do what I need to do. I'm gonna take that action now to do it. Maybe that retrograde is telling you to plan out what action you need to take, like to light a fire under your ass and say, let's go. Like, what has to happen to get things moving in the right direction? Because Scorpio, after the long stellium that we had, after this grand water trine, we could be exhausted from the emotions and the drama and whatever else we went through. And it was one of those times where it was just like there's so much happening that we kind of just had to make it day by day, and there wasn't much time. It pushes us into our fight or flight, and it pushes us into a state where it's a little bit more difficult to come out of because it's like survival. And what do we need to do to regain our stability, to regain our sense of safety, to regain our sovereignty? Yeah. Uranus and Taurus could also mean fasting, practicing fasting in order to realize. Uranus is Kundalini awakening energy, and it is that jolt of energy, that jolt of awakening, shooting straight up to your third eye, that maybe a fasting thing is what you need right now, if you need to purge and reset and do the Scorpio things. So anyways, just wanted to throw that in there too. The moon and Jupiter are conjunct right now, and they're actually probably just now moved into Leo, the moon. And so yesterday and today, for a little bit, as soon as you woke up, maybe there was a sleepiness, there was a need to be cozy, maybe a like burst of creativity, maybe just in general kind of like feeling good and feeling protected and feeling like it could be, especially with the Mercury retrograde, it could have been like serious downloads coming through from that higher source, that Jupiterian wisdom. And then both of them are opposite Pluto. Moon and Jupiter conjunct in Cancer, opposite Pluto. That could be creativity being used for soul alchemy and big power of the feminine, like really reckoning with the power of the feminine and the power of our emotions and the power of water and the power of revolution, and how creativity can be used in revolution and be so powerful. And sometimes that's a way for us to not feel so powerless. There are always ways for us to bring the power back into ourselves, and there are always ways for us to take action, even if it doesn't seem significant to everybody. It is significant because it's what we can contribute, and we all have gifts to contribute. So I think that's all I have right now. Notes wise, I think I went on a pretty far out tangent about veganism and the energetics of that, and I think I want to sum that up into, when you go vegan, you start to realize and learn about the different chemical reactions that occur in the brain due to eating dairy and meat. And it's simple. 2 things. Casomorphin with dairy, cortisol with meat. It doesn't have to be about anything other than that. Because there's more. There's so much more to this. But like, if you are someone who, and a lot of people are looking to heal themselves, heal the emotional bondage that they have, the karmic bondage playing out in their lives. And I realize not everyone is interested in that too, so if it's not for you, I think if you're someone who's watching this video, though, you are. And when you realize that the amount of these products that we eat is reflected in the amount of that chemical reaction that we are addicted to, we start to figure out that this is not good for us. And of course it's not good for the animals, but if you're someone who doesn't care about that either, the casomorphin stimulates that feeling of being connected with our mothers. Everyone wants to feel connected. Everyone wants to feel loved, and everyone wants to feel safe. There's no crime in that. But using another species' mom's milk as your addiction, instead of like taking responsibility and learning, how do I learn to connect with others in a healthy way? How do we like get out of that base level stuff and like black magic voodoo stuff? And then the cortisol, right? If an animal is being killed in whatever form you want to talk about it, like, it doesn't matter if it's grass-fed, it doesn't matter if it's humane. There is no such thing as humane meat. If you are murdering someone, or you're paying someone to murder someone so that you can have their meat, that being that's being murdered is going to be scared, and it's going to be having a lot of cortisol, even if you sedate it, even if you blah, blah, blah. There's no way about it. These animals are intelligent enough to know when they're not safe. And so the cortisol is there in the brains, and that is therefore being pumped through the meat that we eat, that people eat. And cortisol, of course, if you know, is a stress hormone. It's stressing people out. And yeah, I know vegans don't seem like the most low stress people, because the perception of veganism is that we're always fighting everyone. But it's it's not about us, and it's not about we're angry because a lot of things are being messed up. Humans are being messed up. Animals are being messed up. The earth's being messed up. The air, the water, everything. And so, we're angry. But I promise you, I'm way less angry than I was when I ate meat and dairy. So realizing that these choices to stop are inherently tied in with our self-worth. And it's like, we decided that that's not good enough for us. And a lot of people view veganism as like degrading and going away from things that are good, to like eat less and like have less of everything. And it's just not true. And it's in fact just like astounding to see how much my life has improved since going vegan, how much I've been willing to try and branch out, and how I finally have this relationship with food where I can trust it and I can feel safe with it. And it's very understandable why I talked to so many people and they were so picky when they were kids, because when we were kids, we knew better. Like, we knew this wasn't right. This was not We're not supposed to be eating our animal brothers and sisters that are so much like us. Yes, they are very different than us. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying, yeah, there is something in us as children that knows, and yeah, that should be studied and revered and just, applauded and protected, because the children come in pure and then they are taught what speciesism is, which is the prejudice that humans can do whatever they want to animals just because they're smarter, bigger, whatever, more, top of the food chain, whatever it is. It's baloney. No pun intended. It's freaking baloney. So there's my TED Talk. There's my birthday spiel. I'm pretty sure I covered everything that I wanted to cover. Yeah, Jupiter goes retrograde on 11/11, which is tomorrow, Tuesday. So Jupiter going retrograde is going to make all that family stuff that we're working through and that mother stuff, and, it could be mother and father, right? Jupiter is the father, Cancer is the mother, Cancer is also the body, and Jupiter is the mind and the beliefs. So we're working with all of these things, and we're feeling a lot of sensitivity, feeling a lot of emotions, maybe overstimulation. I'd say the more overstimulating is like the Virgo stuff, and then oversensitive is the Jupiter Cancer stuff. So take good care of yourself. Really just like find that routine, that self-care routine that is just like, it gets you back and it revitalizes you, and it makes you feel safe, right? That's what we want, is to feel safe so we can come out of fight or flight and we can actually start living and thriving instead of surviving. That's the goal. That is my personal intention for explaining this astrology at all. Like, I'm not getting paid for this. This is just truly something that I believe so deeply in that I'm willing to, I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this for everyone. But I know that it's not just for me. It's for like, we're all here together and we're all sharing our stories, and our stories are important. And I really just want to thank anyone who's watching these videos, and if you feel that this would resonate with somebody, I will definitely be back on the Scorpio new moon, guys. I will not miss a Scorpio new moon. Taurus, it's whatever. I'm just kidding. But the Taurus full moon was great, right? It was sensual. It was very, like, kind of shocking, though, with, like, some of the senses, and, maybe there were some things that shocked us, again, with that Uranus and Taurus. And, yeah. So, yeah, if you are someone who's watching to the end, I really appreciate your support. I'm really trying to be available for every full moon and new moon, because this is what I'd rather be doing than working, although my other jobs are just as fulfilling and part of healing just myself and the collective, right? I'm a yoga teacher, and then I work at a halotherapy spa, so it's a salt therapy, and so yeah, I'm doing a lot right now, but I appreciate anyone who is supporting this, because this is kind of like my favorite right now. I love the astrology, and I live there 24/7, whether I like it or not. So anyways, let's draw a rune. Ooh, okay. I think it's Fehu. Nope, it's Ansus, Odin, inspiration and wisdom. Thank you, Jupiter, coming through. Jupiter in Cancer, conjunct the moon, opposite Pluto. Now, how does that work out? Because Pluto's at the beginning of Aquarius, so it's pretty dang close to the beginning. That's our rune. Thank you. Perfect. And then let's draw a Kuan Yin, Goddess of Compassion card to remind us that we are worthy of self-love. Self-love is not selfish. We are worthy of doing the things that are uncomfortable for the sake of our self-worth, for making the changes necessary to give us a higher quality of life, period. All right, Kuan Yin, which card do we need in this collective today? Thank you so much for being here with us. Okay, here we go. She is Gorge. I don't know if you can see that. Enter the Jade Temple. This is so, like, confirm it right away with the first sentence is so confirming, like, any Asian travel that I've been thinking about. Like, I just want to go travel. You guys, I'm going to live out of my backpack. It's going to be great. Okay, so Kuan Yin, in her temple of peaceful jade, causes all conflict to elevate to a higher peaceful resolution. A resolution and healing of any situation that is concerning you is already underway. You are being asked to begin to feel the relief of that resolution now, so that you can more readily melt into the divine solution and blessing of peace from beloved Kuan Yin. Okay, so now reading it makes me think, like, that's the Jupiter in Cancer. Like, that is a feeling of good vibes in the home. Like, what kind of environment do you need to be in to thrive? What do you need around you that you need to feel safe, right? Like, what does safety look like to you? What does home look like to you? What does family look like to you? What does connection look like to you? All of these things, if you are in a place of safety and healing, conflict can't hurt you as much. Like, it can't touch you there. And, you know, that's a state where we all are obviously trying to get to, where we are just, like, immune and enlightened and whatever. I don't know if enlightenment is the actual goal. I think it's more like becoming an observer of the things happening and becoming, like, stepping out of the reactivity. And so I think what that looks like is the peace starts within. And when we can create a peaceful environment, it's difficult for conflict to push us out of that place. Especially if it's got a strong foundation. That's that Taurus. That's that strong foundation. And so what have we learned since 2018? What has Uranus and Taurus helped us to maybe build a new foundation? Like, maybe that 2018 was our tower moment, and we now are looking back and we're like, man, I have built such an awesome foundation of that, of self-worth, and of like, Taurus is ruled by the Venus, and it's like art, and like maybe there's beauty around me, maybe there's, you know, music around me, maybe there's, you know, whatever. Maybe I'm realizing as soon as I stopped being so stubborn about it was when I finally freed myself, right? Like, I was so stubborn about going vegan for a while. It wasn't too long, because I knew what was up. And I had been a crazy, my whole life I didn't really eat meat. I just ate bacon. And so I really only had to give up bacon, cheese, and milk, and, you know, butter, and like all the other stuff. But I didn't even eat like sour cream or ranch or like any of those things until I tried the vegan version. So I didn't, and I realized that it was a lot easier for me, but that, like, I knew what was up. And that state of hypocrisy that I mentioned earlier, where it's like, you see what's going on and you logically are probably still just like, yeah, that makes sense, but I'm still gonna be not gonna be vegan or whatever. And that is stubbornness. That's the stubbornness that as soon as we put that down, like, now I'm like, I don't The only regret I have about going vegan is that I didn't do it sooner. And I love that quote. And with that, we will end this episode. I want to thank you all so much for being here. I'm super excited for another year of celebrating the new moons and full moons with everyone, and hopefully our community starts to grow. And like and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you in 1 week, Scorpio new moon.